What up, TCK Potters? I'm your host, Sky Guasco, joined always by my man, Lucas Kaser, and you are tuned into the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Candlestick Kids, leave a rate and review anywhere you're listening to your podcast, and follow us on IG at fantasyfootball_TCK Pod and on Twitter at TCK_pod. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get into it. What up, TCK Potters? I'm your host, Sky Guasco, rolling solo today. Lucas is out. I'm going to be knocking out a 0 RB mock draft to wrap up wide receiver week. This is episode 231 of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast. If you have not yet grabbed the draft guide, go ahead and pause the podcast right now. Get yourself a copy. $5 for the in-season package, $5 for the pre-draft package, and $15 for both and some extra. Appreciate everybody reaching out, always asking about that and comping those copies. Lucas and I put a ton of effort in it. Dwayne, our boy Dweez Nuts on Twitter, and some other folks, a lot of contributors have put work in that as well. So thank you so much to everybody. And we're going to be having more information on the TCK Listener League coming up here shortly. As I've been mentioning the last couple episodes, we do have a big announcement in August. Lucas and I are going to be dropping probably next week. We'll be letting you know what that is and gearing up towards. So we're going to put everything on pause for now. But as you can see today, we are doing a mock draft, 0 RB. You know how we do this. I'm going to do a solo draft, so I'm going to use the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. They are not a sponsor yet. Bobby and Tags, if you're hearing this, hook it up, please. We would be much appreciated. We are going to do a PPR league, full PPR. We're going to do a snake draft, 12 teams. I'm going to randomize 3 times per usual. 1, 2. And 3rd. All right. Well, Michael Thomas it is. So we're going to go down here. We have a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, just 1 flex and 5 bench spots. We're going to keep the roster kind of small just for sake of the podcast here. I do have all the expert consensus rankings and the ADPs coming into consideration here. So I will be putting those up, and let's get the draft started. So with the 0 RB approach, if you're unfamiliar, that basically means that I am not going to pick a running back, 0 RB, not going to pick a running back for at least the first 4 picks, pretty much no matter what. And this is just strictly to test out a strategy, see if it's going to work for me. So I have the 3rd pick overall, so it looks like Michael Thomas is going to be the guy. But after that even, I'm going to be passing on running backs until after that. We'll make this one easy. 3rd overall, I'm going Michael Thomas. No reason to debate that. We need to speed right up. Let's see what happens after the fact, though. So we're going to pick 3 more non-running backs, and let's see how our team shakes out. And then we're going to have to grab those mid-round to late-round running backs to make up for the difference. Now, Lucas and I have been talking a little bit over the last couple of weeks on how we're starting to warm up to the 0 RB approach. I will say this. I'm not anti-0 RB. I've actually done it quite a few times over the last few years. I liked it a lot. The current ADP and the current landscape of fantasy football right now is running back heavy. So most people are going running back heavy. So I'll tell you this. You'll probably be able to grab some incredible wide receivers if you do 0 RB. The problem is those running backs are going to be fucking toast. All right, so you're going to be looking at RB3s as your RB1, and unless you pick the right guys that get the right breaks, that could be very, very risky. So be careful doing this strategy, but it is something fun to check out. So here's what we'll do. We're going to be looking through here. Now, George Kittle came up first. If you're unfamiliar with the website, this is how it goes. I'll kind of explain it as we go here. This is the expert consensus ranking, okay? So these are, many experts within the industry put together the rankings for full PPR, and they come up with a consensus. Well, right now, they're recommending George Kittle. I can't say that as I blame him. 73%. Kenny Golladay after that, Mike Evans, Patrick Mahomes. What I'm going to do is take a quick look. Do I want Mahomes or Lamar Jackson in the 2nd round? I'm going to pass on that because I think I might be able to get one of them potentially in the 3rd round. And if I don't, I'll just wait on quarterback. Running backs, again, a lot of good options in here, but I'm going to pass, okay? Wide receivers, plenty. Obviously, the tight ends. Is Kelsey available too? No, looks like he went. I can look at the draft board right here and show you. Michael Thomas, all the running backs. Tay Adams, Nuke Hopkins, all the running backs. 3 other receivers. Travis Kelsey and Allen Robinson. But as you can see here in the first 2 rounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 running backs. All right, 13 running backs. out of the first 21 picks. So pretty heavy, but we're going to stick with our plan and see what we can do here. So I'm going to go with a non-running back, telling me right here that they believe George Kittle will be the one picked at 99% here if I don't pick him. So I am going to go with George Kittle here. If I were to go with a wide receiver, let's take a look really quick. I would go personally with Kenny Golladay. I think he's got great floor and great upside. Mike Evans would be fine too. DJ Moore and Juju I love, but I think they're more third rounders. If Mahomes or Jackson aren't available in the third round, I'll just say it right now, I'm going to go with one of these guys unless these guys are available. Plenty of wide receivers left. I'm going to go with Kittle, lock up the tight end position. I've already got Michael Thomas. Let's take a look here. George Kittle, 100% experts agree. Let's do that. Boom. Let it load here real quick for me. All right. George Kittle. Robert Woods went after that there. Okay, let's take a look. All right, excellent. So Lamar Jackson is still available in the third round. And because I'm going 0 RB, I want to have the top dogs. Take a look here at the rankings. Lamar Jackson, boom. Look at all these running backs still available. But again, I'm going to pass for another round or two. These are all RB2s at this point anyway. So I'm going to take a look here at the wide receiver rankings. Tight ends, plenty available. But again, I've got George Kittle, so I'm not going to worry about that. So let's go with one of the receivers here. We'll go back to the suggestions and see how the expert consensus is feeling. Mike Evans still available. DJ Moore, Juju, love them all. However, I want to get top dogs. Lamar Jackson in the third round. I'm going to take that 0 RB approach. I want to get the top dogs if I possibly can. There's still plenty of wide receivers for me to grab, so I'm going to get Lamar Jackson. I've got George Kittle and Michael Thomas. Some would argue that's the top three at each individual position. I do like that a lot. Lamar Jackson is actually my number one quarterback over Mahomes. And in Dynasty, I've got Kittle. In Redraft, I've got Kelsey, but I could certainly make a case for Kittle, number one at tight end. And, of course, Michael Thomas, pretty much the unanimous number one receiver there. So take a look at our roster real quick. We got Lamar Jackson, Michael Thomas, and George Kittle. Love that. Running backs, let's just take a look, but we're not going to go there yet. Chris Carson, still a bunch of RB2s, so we're going to wait there. And we're done with tight end and we're done with quarterback pretty much for the rest of our draft until the very end. I like that a lot. So we're just going to pound receiver, pound running back. That is one thing I do like about getting a running or a quarterback and a tight end early in your drafts. It is risky, but at the same time, it is an option that opens up running back and wide receiver to just pound the rest of your draft there. So I like it a lot. So for one more round, we're going to go with a wide receiver. Let's take a look here. I'm going to look at the cheat sheets as well. It's just a little kind of an easier way to digest everything. Come on. There we go. All right. So all these wide receivers here in these order, I've actually got DJ Chark up above Keenan Allen. Terry McLaurin, I just don't believe in the Washington franchise, whatever the hell they're called these days. Devontae Parker, I want Preston Williams instead. I've been very clear about that. DK Metcalf sounds great, but only as my wide receiver 2. Maybe I can get him in the 5th round. So I kind of like DJ Chark here, the definite number 1 on his team. Should be throwing quite a bit. He had a great rapport last year with Minshew. I like that a lot here. Let's check his stats real quick on the YouTube side. You can see this right here, 15 games. He can get over, with another game, he'll get over 80 receptions. He's got about 120 targets, 1,000 yards plus, 8 touchdowns. I could get to double digits. I like DJ Chark a lot, so I'm going to go with him as my wide receiver 2 over Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen, the football player. I'm just a little bit concerned with him and Tyrod Taylor. So I'm going to go with that. And coming back around, plenty of guys left. Now, at this point in the draft, I have 4 non-running backs. I'm going to look at the draft board. You can see all this blue. These are running backs. They've really slowed down because people are starting to go with the wide receivers. Let's take a look here. I can look at the rest of my league here via roster too. Everybody's got at least 1 running back. These are the only 2 teams that don't have 2. Some people have 2 running back or wide receivers, right? Like that, quarterback, tight end. Pretty dialed in. So we do not have a running back yet. Let's take a look. David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram, Now, I'm pretty confident. I don't dislike David Johnson this year. I'm just not sure what to get in Houston. If it was like a Todd Gurley fell this far, or even Lev Bell, as much as I always hate on Lev Bell here, I would be more excited. David Johnson's got he's going to get the workload there. He has the most vacated rush attempts in the NFL coming in, but I'm a little skittish on that. Let's take another look at wide receivers. DK still available? I think he is. And if we do that, let's take a look. Oh, DK went, I think. Let me take a – yep, DK did go. Oh, just before me. Okay, right after that. No worries. All right, well then he was the one I was going to target. So let's look at a running back here. Now, I'm not crazy about David Johnson. Jonathan Taylor would be great, but he's my RB1. It's a little risky. David Montgomery. Man, I've got a lot of picks. As you can see here on the draft board, I got a lot of picks until my next one. So I got to go with the true number one. And as much as I am not excited about David Johnson, I'm going to go with David Johnson right now because I think he is the sure number one to get those rushing attempts. He'll get passing work as well. I know Duke Johnson's there too, but he'll get work. Look at all these receivers going off the board. So I have no running back competition for the most part. Take a look. Mark Ingram still available. Love that. David Montgomery as well. I'm going to go with Mark Ingram, and here's what I'm going to do. Cheat sheets. Let's see. How much do they think? Mark Ingram, 64%. Michael Gallup, I'm good on wide receivers. Where is J.K. Dobbins? Let's take a look here. What's the percentage chance that he's going to be gone after this? J.K. Dobbins down here, minus 1%. Perfect. So Mark Ingram or David Montgomery. Now I'm looking at upside. I would go with David Montgomery. Floor, I'm going to go with Mark Ingram. Now I have a lot of upside with my wide receivers, my tight end, and my quarterback. So I'm looking to just kind of play it safe right now with running back, and then I'll boost it later on. So I'm going to go with Mark Ingram now. If David Montgomery falls to me next round, that's a scoop. Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, any of these guys are good. I feel good about it. J.K. Dobbins is going to be my guy in probably the 7th round to back up Mark Ingram. 6th, the best strength of schedule. I like that a lot. Let's take a look at Mark Ingram's stats from last year. You can see, they're ridiculous. 200 carries, 1,000 yards, 15 total touchdowns there. So he had 10 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns. I expect those to come down, but nonetheless, he's going to get the work while he's in there. Let's go with Mark Ingram as my RB2. Again, 2 safe options outside of injury, which could affect anybody. So I'm going to stick with that. Now, David Montgomery falling to me as my RB3 right now. I am really stoked about it, actually, because I was going to pick him over David Montgomery. I almost consider Mark Ingram. I almost considered him over David Johnson, actually. So let's take a look. The draft board. Cam Akers. Yep. So we're in the 7th round here. I'm going to try to wait. Hopefully I get J.K. Dobbins here. I'm not going to pick him back to back. Hopefully I get him here. If not, we'll be okay. So let's take a look. And I'll take a look at wide receivers too, actually, really quick, just because. Michael Gallup. That's my dog. Let's see here. What is more important? Running back, a third running back or a third receiver here at this point. David Montgomery looks like he's going to go. Michael Gallup's going to go too. It's just a matter of what I want for this team. Let's take a look. So I got Michael Thomas and DJ Chark. Those guys are both beasts. David Montgomery, Mark Ingram. I think both those guys are safe plays. David Montgomery's fun, but I think he's got a floor and he's got a nice upside ceiling. Let's see here. I think I'm actually going to go with David Montgomery. As much as I want Michael Gallup, there's other receivers to come up later. There's not as many running backs. So let's go with David Montgomery here. Okay. All right, David Montgomery off the board. So I've got my 3 running backs. So I went 0 RB. I have 2 stud receivers. I have arguably the best fantasy quarterback and arguably the best fantasy tight end as well. And I got 3 nice running backs here. let's see if all right, let's take a look at the running backs. J.K. Dobbins still available. I think I'd be able to get him maybe next round, depending on the ADP. Yeah, just 4 picks. So I think I'm going to go with a running or wide receiver here. Let's take a look. I'm not excited on any of these guys here. I'd rather have J.K. Dobbins as the handcuff. Christian Kirk, Darius Slayton, John Brown. I do like Christian Kirk here. We could take a look to see who would get picked next. Christian Kirk, clearly the most popular pick here by the ECR at 76%. I'm going to go with him. Big play potential. He's going to have 100 targets, could have double-digit touchdowns. I love Nuke Hopkins, of course, but there's plenty of mouths to feed there in Arizona. Now we go with – now I'm going to go here. I'm going to reach a little bit on my boy J.K. Dobbins, but I want to make sure that I get the handcuff here for Mark Ingram, and I might even get Duke Johnson later. We'll see. Probably not. But J.K. Dobbins is somebody I want to lock up right now, so I get that Baltimore backfield. So I've got solid wide receivers, solid running back. Let's just find J.K. Dobbins, and we will draft him. So I'm reaching a little bit on him, but I just want to make sure I get him because I have a ton of picks, as you can see, before my next pick, and I'm very confident he would have gone. So that fills that up a lot. So let's take a look at this draft board here. And we can take a look at my roster. So far I've got 3 picks left. I got Lamar Jackson, David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, DJ Chark, George Kittle, David Montgomery, Christian Kirk, and J.K. Dobbins. So I've got 4 running backs and basically 1 running back because I got the Ravens back, whoever it is. 3 running backs total to play each week. And then I've got 3 receivers. I got a tight end and a quarterback. So I don't need a tight end or a quarterback. Let's look at maybe another receiver or 2 and another running back or 2 overall. Let's see who's available here. All right, Duke Johnson could be a guy. I'm just not super excited about that necessarily. Now, these wide receivers, I think I'm going to wait another round. I am probably going to just get Preston Williams in the 11th. So I can wait on that. Maybe another running back. Let's take a look here. Preston Williams. Ooh, Preston Williams could go. Do I love any of these running backs? Duke Johnson, I'm just going to pass on. Not a ton of upside, and I think I'll be fine elsewhere. Alexander Mattison, Tony Pollard, not bad. Chase Edmonds could get that, but that's all handcuffs. I might just go with somebody later like Antonio Gibson or Justin Jackson, who could legit be the starter. So just to be safe, I am going to go ahead and pick Preston Williams here. Again, I mentioned it every podcast for the last 2 weeks, but if you're new to the program, Preston Williams is my guy over Devontae Parker every single time. At the time that Preston Williams tore his ACL in week 9, he was leading the Dolphins and Devontae Parker in targets, receptions, and yards, and they were back-to-back in fantasy output. So Devontae Parker did not turn out to be the Devontae Parker that we all know and love at the end of the season until Preston Williams went down. So I like him a lot. Great value there. Let's take a look again at the roster. 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. I like to be balanced. Let's go with 1 more running back and 1 more receiver for this shorter draft. Let's take a look here. Look at all these. All 4 of these running backs went just now. That's okay. Let's take a look at the cheat sheets here and see who I want for my next 2 picks. Now, I'm not going to have a pick for quite a while, so I got to make sure that this last one is solid. A lot of these running backs are backups anyway. Not really concerned about getting anybody. I'd like to have Justin Jackson. I'd like to have Nyheim Hines even at this level. I'd like to have Antonio Gibson. A nice backup to have Darrington Evans behind Henry. Damian Harris in New England, I think, is a good pick. Anthony McFarland, Lil Boog in Pittsburgh, I think, is a good pick. So there's plenty of options here. I'm just going to let that slide. Don't need a backup quarterback with the short draft that I have. Don't need a backup tight end with George Kittle, so I'm going to let that slide. Let's look at the receivers over here. Mike Williams, I like a lot with Justin Herbert, but I don't know when he's going to be coming in. Golden Tate, he's going to be solid for probably 75, 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, but maybe 5, 6 touchdowns. Really solid floor. Lack of upside. I actually am really starting to warm up to Justin Jefferson here in Minnesota. There's just a ton of vacated targets with Diggs leaving. There's not going to be a lot going to the tight ends necessarily. They do run a lot of 12 personnel, so 2 tight end sets. However, they're just not passing to the tight end as often. Thielen's going to get plenty of work, but we saw what Diggs was able to do with over 100 targets multiple seasons. I like Justin Jackson here a lot. He is a rookie though. Some other rookies I'm looking at: Henry Ruggs. He's not totally boom or bust. I understand he does more than that. But with the Raiders team, I don't trust Derek Carr. Love my boy Mariota, but how good is he going to be? Henry Ruggs is a nice value at this point. So is Jalen Reagor because they're deep bomb guys. But I want more efficiency in a full PPR league. I think I'm going to go Justin Jefferson here. If we had another 2 or 3 rounds of this draft, then I would target Henry Ruggs, Jalen Reagor, Michael Pittman, my boy, down here at the bottom. But for this, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to grab Justin Jefferson. You can look at the overview here. I like this a lot. Landed in a beautiful spot in football alongside Adam Thielen. Yada, yada, yada. Also, Thielen's had a little bit of injury issues, so Jefferson should easily see over 100 targets in year one. DK Metcalf did last year. If he can catch 70 of those, is 70%, 70 receptions, should have 1,000 yards, could have 7 to 8 touchdowns as a rookie there. So I like Justin Jefferson a lot. I'm going to go ahead and scoop him. And then I believe we have 1 pick left. Let's take a look. Antonio Gibson, Nyheim Hines, Justin Jackson, all my running backs off the board here. Let's see what we can come in. Darrington Evans, everybody. Yep. And there's my deep wide receivers too, although Jalen Reagor's still available. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers, 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs, but really 3. Let's take a look here on which running backs are still available. I like Damien Harris. He's a shot in the dark, and there's 5 other running backs there in New England, but I think he might be the number 1 there. Lil Boog should have plenty of work in Pittsburgh, but there's a lot of running backs there, and he's not going to supplant Connor unless he gets hurt. So that takes a back seat for me. Everybody else here, meh. Don't need a backup quarterback. Don't need a backup tight end. Jalen Reagor looks nice, but again, I'm looking for a receiver here to balance out. So let's go ahead and go with Damien Harris. I like this a lot. He could definitely be the starting running back. Sony Michel doesn't look very good. We all know that James White has his role in the offense there. Rex Burkhead's going to be a change of pace guy. So we'll see what happens. All right, so here's the draft guide. If you're familiar with the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard, as I have done multiple times, here's the grade, 84 out of 100. It's a solid B, not super sexy, honestly. Daniel and I, if you listened last week, Daniel and I did a running back heavy draft where we did 3 running backs to start the draft. We ended up getting an A-, which obviously is a better grade. I don't put a ton of stock into these grades, but it does let you know how the experts think you did. Now, of course, I love having Lamar Jackson. I love having Michael Thomas. I love having George Kittle. I love having the combination of Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. I like the picks of Preston Williams and Justin Jefferson. But I got to be honest, because I went no running backs in the first 4 rounds, not crazy about David Johnson, limited upside. Not crazy about Mark Ingram, limited upside. David Montgomery could have upside and he could have a nice floor, but he's not going to carry my team to a top, 10-5 performance weekly like a top running back could. So not crazy about that either. Damien Harris, again, could get the work, but probably not right away, so it's risky. So while I do like this team on paper, and we have some studs, arguably 3 of the best at their position, Lamar Jackson, Michael Thomas, and George Kittle, it's a little bit risky. And this particular draft, I'm not thrilled with. I will say, if I'm in the 3rd position, I know Michael Thomas is kind of getting drafted there in some mocks. I got to go running back there. For me, it's Alvin Kamara behind Saquon and CMC, not Zeke. It's Alvin Kamara for me personally in a full PPR. But I got to go running back for probably the first 5 picks, and then I would look at wide receiver. So if I have the 6th, 7th, 8th pick, I would consider 0 RB. If I have the 10, 11, 12 turn, I am definitely considering 0 RB because I can still get Devontae Adams. I can still get Nuke Hopkins. Then I can get Tyreek Hill or Julio Jones, right? Those are 2 massive wide receivers. I can still possibly even get one of the tight ends on the turn coming back. If not, maybe one of the quarterbacks. If not, plenty of wide receivers still. Allen Robinson, maybe Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp fall. Maybe Kenny Golladay falls, Adam Thielen. Somebody like that, Mike Evans could fall, and then all of a sudden I've got 3 wide receiver ones, and then I can start plugging away at running back. Also, there's an alternative to zero RB, which is kind of that hybrid zero RB, which is grab a running back in the first round, which I could have done here. I could have gone Alvin Kamara and then 4 wide receivers. I'll have to do that in another mock draft to see what happens. But if I'm in the 3rd spot, I'd like to do that instead. I'd like to go Alvin Kamara, then maybe 3 wide receivers or 3 non-running backs to stack up, and then start hitting running back again in the middle of the round. So not a terrible team. By round, I went Michael Thomas in the 1st, Kittle in the 2nd, Lamar Jackson in the 3rd, Chark in the 4th, David Johnson, Mark Ingram, and David Montgomery, 5th, 6th, and 7th round. Christian Kirk, J.K. Dobbins as the handcuff to Ingram, Preston Williams, Justin Jefferson, and Damian Harris to round out the draft. And the team looks like my starters: Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Then I have David Johnson, Mark Ingram, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, and Damian Harris as my running backs. Michael Thomas, DJ Chark, Christian Kirk, Preston Williams, and Justin Jefferson as my wide receivers. And then, of course, my man's George Kittle as my tight end. So 84 out of 100, not sexy, but solid. And I think I could do a lot of work. There's obviously a lot of upside on this team and solid floors. Not the best zero RB team that I have picked, though. So be cautious. And again, if you're going zero RB, I wouldn't go into a draft with any strategy necessarily. But a zero RB approach is, for me, more at the back half of your draft. If you're picking from like the 10, 11, 12 spot, I think it's better than in the first 4 or 5 picks, because those running backs are so valuable. All right, TCK Potters, that wraps up episode 231. That's a zero RB mock draft. If you have not gotten the draft guide yet, please, once again, go grab yourself one. Click the link below. It takes literally 1 minute for you to give us your email address. Let us know your name. Fill out just a couple quick questions. Let us know which package you want, and we'll get that out to you ASAP. It is a updated package, so there's a couple different links that we're always working on. So if something is down or it's inactive on the particular time you click it, maybe wait a day or two. That might be a section we're working on, and it's under construction, filling stuff up, updating things. We'll have it updated again as soon as possible. So if you're hitting into those snags, please let us know so we can make sure it's not a technical difficulty, but it's more than likely just something that we're working on behind the scenes per section, per team, per player, something like that. And we can get those out right away. So thanks again to all the contributors. Thank you to the listeners and the followers. Make sure you leave a subscribe right here on the YouTube channel. Leave us a rate review on your podcast. Drop a comment below. Let me know how you feel about this mock draft. And if you're going zero RB, who are a couple of your first non-running back targets? Then who are you picking as your running back in the middle of drafts? Also, please follow us on Instagram at fantasyfootball_TCKpod and on Twitter at TCK_pod. You can also find our draft guide at tckpod.com. And please tell a friend or a family member about it. We appreciate the organic love, and always leave us a rate and review. Thanks so much, y'all. This is a quick one today. Episode 231, Zero RB Mock Draft. Appreciate y'all. We'll catch you next time. This is another episode of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Sky Guasco, and I am out of here.